I wanted to get out for the night, alright? You know how this shit makes me feel?
Follow my rules and prove to me that you are willing to do anything to earn the money you need to save your life. Remember that I am watching you.
Your victims, all victims. Your victims, all victims. Your victims, all victims.
So that was the trailer of Tape Me, a 2026 horror film directed by Christopher Eric Outridge, and it runs for 2 hours in association with Blood Pact Films. So the storyline goes, watch me, torture me, tape me, follow Faceless as he catalogues his stalking, kidnapping, and torturing of his victims. His victims range from privileged socialites and the financially desperate, promised salvation through a deadly game. So this is a great body horror with gore to the max. It's a full-on slasher film. The sound effects are grueling and enhance the scenes nicely. The tension is good as well as the suspense. The cinematography is good as well, with many different perspectives, which I like. There are a lot of tools used for the murders, some original, which is refreshing to see, as we can see sometimes in tropes like this. They go for the go-to weapons, but it's quite good to see that there's different tools at this murderer's disposal. So the masked killer Faceless doesn't really talk, so the film has to rely heavily on the horror aspect. The murders look authentic, so kudos to the director and the team for their believability factor. The characterization of Faceless is okay, but I wanted to know more about why he's killing indiscriminately and what is his trigger. But we don't know the gender also, so for the purpose of this review, I will be referring to Faceless as a male. Although we don't know anything about the killer, we learn by his actions a bit about his personality. On the one hand, Faceless is savage and merciless. Then, in the next moment, he can be very graceful in his movements. And there's also a scene where he shows some compassion towards one of his victims, who he tried to force to murder her own father. That was a great scene. But I wanted to know why Faceless let her go. Anyway, we find out later on in the film via a news report that she got away. We also learn there are missing persons that could be connected to Faceless. Since he is recording the killings in a journal, I wanted to know why he did this, because it seems to be an important element in the film. Sometimes he appears to be a vigilante. Then at other times he just murders people without any rhyme or reason. There didn't seem to be any connection, though it does come to light that the victims have financial worries in their lives. It's almost as if he's a stalker, but then I got the idea he could be a supernatural entity. So it is a little ambiguous, which of course there's nothing wrong with that. I liked that each murder has a story of their own, which is good enough to keep the momentum flowing. Is there any backstory to support the reasoning behind the slaughters? Not really. Faceless releases some of the victims, and because the killer is masked, they can't be identified. The burning question I have is, how does a killer know who to target? We see some of them acting atrociously towards other people. Then suddenly the killer is immediately there afterwards, which is probably due to the plot. Perhaps the pacing is off. I do wonder how the killer is able to move the victims from one place to another, as he doesn't seem strong enough to do this all by himself, as well as the fact he's kidnapping people from public places. Is there someone else involved? An interesting dilemma happens in the story arc when we think we know who the killer is early on because the same person seems to appear in several places. But it turns out to be a really big misdirection to throw off the viewer. I like the fact that some of the captives fight back, as it allows us to see how this murderer handles himself under pressure. I did have the question, how did the DVD angle work? In that, how did Faceless know who had obtained the DVD? How did the victims get hold of it? I like the nasty psychological game at the end, though nothing is revealed and we still don't know who the killer actually is, nor do we discover the reasoning behind their rampage. Is the storyline clear enough to understand? It's an easy enough storyline, that's for sure, though I do feel some exposition would have helped in the overall effect of the film. The music was a little bizarre, but it does sound as if it was tailor-made specifically for the film. I did find some of the acting a little subpar in places, and that the terror on their faces doesn't match the horror that is happening. I didn't see a cohesive storyline. It was morbid tortures and brutally visceral murder scenes. It's just a slasher film with no intention. But overall, a great hack and slash film with some really great murder scenes. Is that enough storyline to compensate for all the gore? Well, at least each murder has a story behind it, and I'm happy about that. I would have liked to have known why he's slaughtering in the first place, though in saying so, not all slashers have a backstory, and nor do they require one. I found this to be an enthralling watch, though in saying, but I think it's mainly because of the gore, which actually made me turn away in some of the scenes. And if you can do that to me, then we know that, consider I'm quite desensitized to horror and gore now. That if you can do that to me, means we're on to a winner. Anyway, I look forward to more of these films from this director in the future. The DVD is available to buy from Blood Pact Films. I've linked the trailer again, and where you can purchase the film in the description section of this video review. Yeah, pop along, see if you like it. I think it's a good one. It's another example of how indie films sometimes overtake mainstream horror, and that the gore is really top notch. So yeah, give it a go. I highly recommend it. And as more films from this director comes into my little hands, I will share them with you. And until my next review, take care out there, stay safe, and bye for now.